My name is Natalie Cabanas, and I'm Atlanta Track Club staff member. We are living in 2020, the year of the coronavirus pandemic. So if you're comfortable, we're on these benches, we're 6 feet away. I'd ask you if you're okay to take your mask off for this conversation.
Just fine.
All right. So I'm here with Alphonso, or better known to me as AJ Whitfield, who is a editor and producer at WABE Atlanta.
Yep.
And today we are going to have a common ground conversation. A little background for the people watching. We went to high school together. We were very good friends with my older brother, Matt. And today we sit on these benches hoping to learn a little bit from each other about the conversation of racism, systemic racism that's going on in our country today. Mm-hmm. So to give you a little bit of background on Atlanta Track Club, I just want to review that we are actually a nonpartisan organization, non-political. We've never in our 5 decades of existence ever stepped out and made any type of political statement, but that all changed earlier this year with the killing of Ahmaud Arbery in Brunswick, which is actually our hometown where we went to high school. So at that point, we came out on social media and made a statement about what was going on in our country and saying how wrong it was, and the fact that he was running, we feel like we can no longer stay silent. And so now we're entering into this conversation. We sit on these 2 benches today. The benches themselves were made from recycled plastic from the Peachtree. And the idea is that we're visiting different organizations throughout Atlanta trying to learn about what's going on in our country right now and just trying to find some common ground amongst ourselves during this time. So I just want to say thank you for taking this time to sit down with me today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I think the best place to start is just to learn more about your running background. All I know is what Matt tells me about when you guys go running, but tell me, do you see yourself as a runner? Do you run? Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, I see myself as a runner in training constantly because I don't really go the long distance just yet, but I'm building up to a lot. So, I'm more into it. I get more into it as I continue going. So, start with a mile, go to 2 miles, and eventually go from there,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always like to say that if you run at all, that you're considered a runner. So
perfect. I'm in.
Yeah, that's definitely perfect. So going back to Brunswick, and again, as I mentioned, we do have our relationship. We went to high school together. Matt, my brother, is your good friend. When I want to also mention that one of the reasons why we asked you specifically to sit down today was because you did make a short film about what happened in Brunswick.
Yeah.
So we'll go back to that in a little bit. But before we get there, when you hear the term common ground, to you, what does that mean?
I guess common ground to me is, I wouldn't say a gray area, but it's a place where anyone from any point of view can sort of see the humanity in something else that they don't necessarily agree upon. I think it's a place for people to, like mentally or literally physically. Sometimes you have to go to like a nonpartisan place where you can sit and talk and not feel judged. Common ground is a place where, or a mental state, I think, where you feel open and honest with yourself and other people, and you can. Maybe you don't have to agree, but you can discuss these sort of hard topics.
Yeah. And that was definitely our idea, again, with starting this initiative, just to be able to sit down with people and have open ears, just to see what other people have to say, hear different opinions, and most of all, just to learn from each other.
Yeah.
So why would you say that you agreed to sit down with us today? Why is it important to you to sit down and have this conversation with me, but also Atlanta Track Club?
I actually had this conversation last night with an old friend who I ran into just one of my first times actually leaving the house and going somewhere and all this, but we were discussing just being able to be a part of the things that we believe in without having to do it in one way. So obviously there's a lot of protests going on right now, and for me, I would love to be out in the streets, and I would love to be out there shooting photos and doing video, but I have there are other responsibilities that I also have. And, it's hard to just say, I can't go. So I think people in general have to find their own ways of protest. And for me, speaking to you right now and also shooting video and covering the topics however I can is my own way of protest. And also getting the message out to people in a way where they may not expect to find it. Like, you can post on Instagram, and even though you may be trapped in an algorithm that keeps you in a certain group and certain people seeing your stuff, the fact that you're posting it might get to a person who isn't within your echo chamber. And just doing those sort of things is good. Getting out on the streets is good. Speaking to your family members is good. And so I think coming here to speak with y'all have a whole nother audience. So what better way to raise the word than to continue to talk in whatever way I can.
Yeah. So would you say not only working here at WABE, but also personally, you try to just educate others, like through your social media channels or other ways?
Yeah, I'm admittedly not very active on social media, just from bad habits. While I was freelance, I should always be on there, but promoting businesses and things. But at this time, I think for mental health, I'm not on there as much. But I do think any chance I have to discuss with a family member or discuss with someone else's family member who doesn't understand certain topics, I make sure to have a one-on-one conversation, kind of like this, or in a group, wherever they feel safe as well. Because I think one of the best ways to really get through to someone who disagrees with you is to come to them on their safe territory or a place where they don't feel judged or uncomfortable. So whatever way possible, I share posts, I make posts, I share my videos, I email it to people and just say like, hey, I want to keep the word up. I would like to send this to you and just share it with your friends. No need to root it back to me or give me any credit. Just get it out there and, just whatever way I can keep it going.
Did you feel like you've always been that way, or has that just been more recent since you've been working as an editor and producer here at WABE?
I will say that before working here at WABE, I definitely was more commercially minded. I would, in my work and the projects I worked on, I was very much looking to continue pushing my career forward. And I think that coming here definitely helped me see that there's a good way to get my thoughts out without seeming one-sided and being not biased, because we're an NPR station. We'd like to make sure that we're giving the best of both sides of the story, the truth on both sides. We're not trying to force thought, So yeah, I would say that working here has kind of driven me in that way, more so than I already was. If I had something to say, I'd let you know, but I think that I'm a lot better at it now.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's shift a little bit and talk about Brunswick. I'm just curious, tell us how you felt. Did you actually see the video that was released?
Yeah.
Just curious how you felt personally, and then since you are a runner, do you feel different now when you go out and run alone?
Yeah, seeing the video and seeing it, knowing that it was happening in Brunswick, and I think video itself is already an interesting medium, and seeing it and knowing where it was, having been in the neighborhood and knowing the smells, the sounds, it all comes back because it's all so familiar. And running in those areas is also kind of familiar. So
you used to run back in Brunswick.
Yeah, I ran track actually at Brunswick High for a little bit.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I did hurdles. I did the 4x100, and I attempted to do the what's the one where you jump backwards over the thing? That's how good I was at it. So I did that, and running was always short interval bursts for me. But I think getting to know my fiance's sister-in-law, who has been an avid runner, just ran the Chicago, she kind of inspired me to get back, or to just sort of push myself into running the longer distances. And Matt also ran cross country in Brunswick. So I always talked to him, and I guess one year he ran 365 miles, 1 mile a day or something like that.
Yeah.
And so he, I've always had the bug in my ear to run further, but I always only went the half mile. But I think it's just sort of evolved from there. And I think being in the mindset of pushing myself further, seeing that video, having the nostalgia in a negative light, not good nostalgia, it shook me, but it had a different effect, I think. Seeing the video sort of made me want to run more and to be more visible. I always kept it, on the low. Maybe I would go to the track at any park or wherever, and I would just do a quick thing and get out. But now it's become, I'm gonna run in the neighborhoods. I'm gonna run in wherever I can. If I don't see me out there, then who is out there? So, like representing African Americans or whoever needs to be, seen essentially. So, I mean, I run alone for the most part, and I don't know that I feel uncomfortable as much as I feel proud that I'm out there running, so that maybe the people who run in that area start to understand that there are African American runners, if that's something that they never thought of or never knew that they should be thinking of, or, if they have a bias or not. But I would like to be a part of the visual, I want to make sure that that doesn't happen again, or at least that if they do see someone African American running, their thought isn't, what are they doing here,
Right.
And also, I mean, we worked together on another sort of video project last year, and it became very apparent to me that there are hundreds, thousands, millions of African American runners, but maybe I had not thought about it. And there's kids who look up to those people, so I just want to add to the number.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think one thing I just wanted to mention is that a couple years ago, Atlanta Track Club actually, we staked our claim as being Running City USA.
Yeah.
We truly believe that. And I think what you said is really important, that, you want to get out there and you want to be seen out in the running community, not just like on a track, but in neighborhoods now. And I think that that's, again, one of the things I just wanted to note is that a reason why we're trying to have this conversation is because if we did stake our claim as Running City USA, we want everybody to go out there and be able to feel safe in the communities. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I love that you said that, and it makes you proud now, and it wants you to get out there more than ever before.
Yeah, on the backs of something very sad, but I think in that is a lot of power for a lot of people to just realize the power that they have just by being out there.
Yeah, I definitely salute you on that too, because it's interesting. One of the conversations we had was with interim Chief Bryant. I had mentioned that to you on the phone the other day. Well, he was interviewed by someone on our board who's African American, and he's a runner, and he said that now, when he goes out after this happened, if he'll go running at 5 a.m. in the morning, he feels a need to wear, super bright clothing just to make sure that people see he's out there, who he is, what he's doing. So that's why I had that question for you, because I was curious how you felt now when you went out there running. So
no, yeah, that part too.
So going back to Brunswick and the short film that you made, was this the project that you asked WABE if you could do? Did they approach you to make it, or how exactly did that go about, and why was it important for you to make that?
I think it was real. It came about in the most organic way possible. The video came out. We had heard about the case and been discussing it already, and we're very curious as to why things were moving kind of slow. And then when the video came out, I brought it up in a meeting, and it just sort of, within another meeting, it took maybe 2 conversations for me to say, like, yeah, I went to school down there, I know the area, I know a couple people, I'm very curious about what people are feeling. That community is pretty tight-knit, I'd say, even with people moving in and out, whatever. I mean, everyone knows each other for the most part, or you're going to end up running into someone who knows. It's like 3 degrees of separation.
Yeah.
So I think after bringing that up, they sort of asked me if I would feel comfortable, and I was like, yeah, I'll go down next week, just make the days a go.
So what was that like for you? I mean, I know you might have visited a couple times, every so often during the years, but this time you were entering the community in a different space. So what was that like?
It was pretty, it's always funny. I've driven that highway so many times just getting down there. So just being back in Brunswick is always interesting because my grandparents are there, and I'm usually there for family, and going down there to essentially, I just didn't want it to feel like I was there to interview or dig anything up. Like I just wanted to talk to people. Mm-hmm. And everyone was so welcoming that, I think it really shined through in the video that, I was just there to discuss. I don't know, it was tough, but I felt like, I felt safe, being down there and being able to just go around. I already know where I'm going. I know where I'm staying. What was the question again?
Yeah, I was just curious how it felt. I mean, I saw, in the video, it looked like you were in the middle of some of the protests, and
yeah.
I saw that there were some people interviewed that I recognized from our high school.
Yeah.
So I was just curious about, the experience going back and talking to some of these people, if, they most seemed, was it all anger? Was it all sadness? It seemed like I was so surprised to see so many people, really coming together to protest what was going on. So
that was the best part about it. Is I initially thought that there was going to be a lot of clashing, and there were rumors of the KKK showing up to the bond hearing, which I was at, where there were protests, and there were a couple people that did show up, but even the outpouring of love towards the people on the opposing side, you know what I mean, was still very, it was still very warming. Every single person I spoke to, or even who knew about me being there for that purpose, reached out and welcomed me and spoke with me, whether they were on camera or not, on the record, off the record. And specifically at the protest, and there's a part in the video where you can see it really quickly. This guy comes up in a Dixie Outfitters shirt, and if you're from the country, I think you know what Dixie Outfitters is. It's just a wild brand, but he came up and he tried to barge into the courthouse and was yelling, "Free the guys," and there's some people in cars further out. And even the crowd was just like, "We don't hate you, man. We love you. We just want you to understand what we're trying to say, what our purpose of being here is." And even with the hate that he was spewing back, everyone was like, "No, man, we love you. We're good. We're good. Let's talk. You can just talk to us." And that is what I felt from everyone, whether they were with the church or they were just community members or they were political figures. Every person, no matter what, wanted some kind of feeling of safety, and to give that to the other people around them. So.
Wow, I'm so shocked.
I am too. Or I was.
Wow, yeah. I guess growing up in Brunswick and watching the video, I guess I just didn't expect that from people.
Yeah.
Because, I know we went to Brunswick High, but I remember how different the high schools were. It seemed that there's just clear separation. Obviously, at Glen Academy, our rivals, it seemed that majority of the population came from St. Simon's and was definitely more predominantly white. Brunswick High was obviously different, and I truly thought that there was that separation in the community too. Like you said, it
felt like that, and those Dixie Outfitter shirts never made it easier.
Yeah.
And it really blurred the lines between your friends who maybe were white, or your friends who were white, because no black person ever wore those shirts, or if they did, whatever, that's a different conversation. But it blurred the lines between a black person and your white friends who wore that stuff. And you were like, "But we're friends. But the stuff you're wearing on your shirt is it's got a cotton field, and it's the South will rise again, and it's, it's really conflicting with everything you say to me. But, to represent that, I don't, it's just confusing when you're young. And also just starkly, I don't want to be a part of any of that."
Do you think, obviously at that age, kids are just wearing
Yeah.
because they just don't know any better.
Yeah, they're wearing pajama pants to school.
Right.
Like, you're just
Until
wearing
they
whatever.
ban them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That part.
So I wanted to go back to what you said about seeing these people's reactions really showing nothing but kindness and understanding, even to the opposing sides. So clearly Brunswick is a smaller community than Atlanta. And I'm curious your thoughts against either similarities or contrasts now reporting here and reporting at Brunswick. So earlier you mentioned the protests, and obviously here in Atlanta, things were a lot more violent. It seems like in Brunswick, they weren't. So just any thoughts on that?
As far as I know, Brunswick was very peaceful in its protests. There was no real looting or rioting or anything like that. Maybe people, I'm sure somebody threw a rock or something like that, you know what I mean? But I mean, that community itself is so reserved in everything. It didn't surprise me that the protests were, for the most part, peaceful, as far as I know. Yeah, here in Atlanta, it was another story. But I think you just get that with population density, you know, and you get at different levels of how people are going to react, and especially being in Atlanta, which is the bastion of civil rights. Like, you're never going to see the level of organization, and this is just me, you know, I don't think with such a large population you can't organize that many people very quickly or easily just through a Facebook post. Whereas in Brunswick, you can probably get it done with a Facebook post, a couple texts, a bunch of phone calls. You know, it's hard work, but I do think that being here in Atlanta, you're not going to get the same level of peaceful protesters along with people who are just out or from out of town, you know what I mean? People who are just out to just make some noise, which make some noise, you know, like if the more we stay silent, the less gets done, you know. Protests in general, that's a whole nother conversation with how they should be carried out. But I mean, even MLK didn't plan every single protest. Sometimes you just have to go out in the streets and make it happen. I think that's just the way it goes. But.
Did you guys cover any of the protests here when they were going on?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. My colleague, Breonna Taylor, actually went, or Breonna Carr, I don't know why I said Taylor, but she went out in the streets and she did some video and got some interviews. All of our reporters are always out. Like, it doesn't matter what's happening, they are hitting the ground running. They're really good at that. Like, I'm in awe at how many of the protests they made it to, and also just their ability to cover it all. I was unable to get out to a lot of protests to shoot, but I put all my energy behind getting this video edited and just getting it out there and out to as many people as possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So WABE's vision is to be the most valued source of information. What do you feel like is their role that they play in the conversation about systemic racism going on in Atlanta right now?
You know, and this is something I often am asking myself, being an employee of the organization. Like, what is the best way to do anything? But I think in general, the people on the radio, whether it's Rose or Lisa Ram or Jim or any of our other anchors, well, not anchors, but, you know, our reporters, I feel like they do a very good job of making sure that whatever they're putting out there is true to fact, and they don't exaggerate anything. And whether it's laws that are being passed, whether it's protests happening, whether it's bringing people in to actually speak to them on the radio live, you know, they really go the full mile for it, if not further. I mean, I can't name the exact people that have been on the radio, but I know for a fact, you know, we get an email and it's like, so-and-so is going to be live today. Lois writes us, she's arts and entertainment, but, you know, she still speaks to things, you know. But they make sure that they're discussing with the correct people the questions that they are being asked from, if not employees, well, we're not in the building now because of coronavirus, but the employees in the building, or the emails they're getting from fans, or the phone calls we get, because I think it's something like 84, 85% funded by the community here in Atlanta. So we get a lot of phone calls from people with opinions and ideas and suggestions and all that stuff. We listen to it. We get it. We comb through it. It's a lot of stuff. So we may not get to everything, but we make sure to take the community's word into account. So I think that number one, the radio is really great at that, and television and all the video departments. We've really worked hard for it.
I didn't realize you guys were funded like that from the community.
Yeah. It's
so but you guys get a lot of feedback.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes, I'll be in the edit suite, and this is last year, of course, but I'll be in the edit suite, and someone will dial the number wrong, and I'll get a phone call from someone who's like, "Hey, how do I get my this, then, the other fixed? My credit card isn't going through." And I'm like, "Oh, I'm just a video editor. Let me figure out how to route that, right?" So even I hear stuff from people, and our head of television, she gets calls from people all the time saying, "I really like that Father Brown special," or, "Is it going to have another season? How do I donate a little bit more? Or can I dial it back? Or can I bring in my friend on it?" You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it's a lot of questions and suggestions coming in at any point in time.
I was going to say, what are some of the challenges that you guys face with that, though? Because obviously receiving, I'm sure you get positive feedback, negative feedback.
Yeah.
What challenges do you see?
I think one of the biggest challenges is just reminding people that it really, really takes like a tribe. It takes a lot of people. It takes a big community to hold it up. I think it's easy to forget that we're a nonprofit because we have the NPR name. Maybe I don't know if some people see that as like it's a big organization, so it feels like it's not a nonprofit. But with the donations, they go a long way. The pledge dollars, which we still do pledge, every quarter, and sometimes throughout the quarter, we're on the radio saying, "Hey, if you could throw us $1, if you can give us $3, whether it's through community events where we bring people to speak on stages so you can hear from some of your favorite celebrities or anything like that. We try and just remind people that the work that we're doing is not for us. We're doing it for everyone, and y'all are the reason that we're even here. And everyone loves their job here. It's really wild. Everyone's very passionate about getting the job done correctly. I think that might be the better way to say it. It's like we just want the community to know that we're a part of them as well. So my initial reaction to the video and the news and everything was disbelief, which I think not the most popular thing to say. But every time there's one of these killings, I am in disbelief because I'm just like, since I was a kid, I've heard about this stuff, and then as soon as I read it again and saw the video again, I was just like, this is happening. Like, this happened. And then the discomfort arises. It's also very weird. It was very weird going to the actual spot where he was killed and shooting video of the memorial there. Because
you were right there in front of his house, right?
Yeah.
That was the shot in the video.
Yeah. Went right there. And right around the corner, there's houses with signage and things that are saying, like, forget about it, kind of, in a different way. And it really just shook me, just because I just remember so just clear as day, echoing in my head every time I think about this. Every time I think about the video, every time I talk about it, I hear it clear as day. My mother telling me to stop going out at night and like walking to the gas station, which was maybe 600 yards down the road. And I was always like, yeah, I'll stay at home. And I would sneak out, and I would go to the gas station and get some Mambas and some soda and like walk right back home, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But, and even going to my friend's house in the neighborhood, like right down the street, you still had to crawl kind of like through the fence to get to it. And it's like, dude, could have been me every single time. And it's just like, it's just it brings you up to your parents' level of understanding the things that you just will never understand as just like a teenager in high school who's just I just want my soda and my candy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Which we already know Trayvon Martin would just eat some Skittles. Like, so it always hits home, and it always is shocking. And the fact that he was out running as an athlete, known in the community, a young kid, you know, why going for him? It's just, it's one of those things. It'll never leave my life. And it's sad that that family has to, you know, they're going to have to talk about this for a very long time. And it's going to be painful for them, I imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, I think one of the things that shocked me the most was that it had happened, but people didn't really know about it until the video came out. So it's like, if he would have never, I don't know I mean, the whole thing is just ridiculous, but, you know, if he wouldn't have recorded it and it wouldn't have been leaked, would any of us even know?
Yeah.
And that's, I mean,
wild.
that's scary too.
Yeah. And it just, I mean, it brings me back every time. It's like, man, how many times has anything happened on video that people just like that or otherwise that is just hiding away, you know, and some courthouse is just not worried about it. You know, they're too busy with doing whatever it is that they're not doing somewhere else, you know.
Does that make you even more passionate about what you do since you are behind a camera?
No, yeah. It definitely has made me, like, I mean, like I'm saying, I still send the video out to people that I know in the industry and outside of it. Just like, hey, I worked on this. I don't know if there's any place you can share this, like, but please. If I can't go out to a protest, I'm at least talking to people who are protesting and understanding what they're going through, donating to solidarity funds and things like that in whatever way I can. It's just, and that's not a flex, you know. I think it's just something that if you want to make change, you have to kind of find ways to do it, you know. But yeah, and behind the camera, it's like whatever I do from this point on, if we can keep covering it, we will, you know. And I feel like we're trying to keep our eyes on projects, in video projects, where we can continue the conversation in some way on these topics that tend to, you know, they get a little low in volume and then high in volume at times, but, you know, in a non-biased way, we keep it going.
So Atlanta Track Club we're a running organization. Do you feel like we should be inserting ourselves in these types of conversations?
I feel like it's very helpful, you know. And I've already seen the track club reach out to a lot of people anyway in the Black community. I know that I actually had a conversation with Black Girls Run, and they were telling me about when your president or CEO, when he first started the job, they were telling me about how he reached out to them immediately and started conversations in the African American community. So, I mean, I obviously don't know everything that ATC is doing, but I see it, you know, and especially at the runs, you know, there's people of all races. So, you know, being in Atlanta, you can't be here and not be a part of the African American community in some ways, you know. So,
yeah.
I mean, y'all are there. So,
yeah. So our executive director, Rich, he definitely understands that. And yeah, they were actually one of the organizations that we sat down with. So
yeah.
Black Men Run, Black Girls Run as well.
Yeah. And they're out there. They're all over the place.
Yeah, and I mean,
those big packs of people running around the park. I'm always like,
because they both started here in Atlanta.
Yeah.
So yeah, there is no running community in Atlanta without them. So
yeah.
Well, I think that wrapped things up for today. Again, I just wanted to thank you for taking the time to sit down here with me and talk through some of these